guys taking the time to be here with me today. As I go through this thing here, definitely feel free to stop me and ask any questions that you have. Let's keep this informal. Let's make this a conversation if we can. And the other thing is, I know I see a couple familiar names here, but one thing that I do is I run a Twitter account, Teams Talk, and we're actually doing a special team certification through that. So I will actually leave, hold on, so I can hit my chat. I'll leave this in the chat box as well as my email address. So one thing that I'm putting out, and really the big guy behind this is Jeff Reinbold. He's currently the special teams coordinator for the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the Canadian Football League, and is almost 40 years of experience coaching NFL Europe for a while, coaching American football, throughout college as well. And we're putting together basically a full course about special teams to give you kind of a holistic approach. So if you like what I'm talking about here today, definitely make sure you go ahead and check that out. But anyway, what I'm talking about here today is what I call the fourth down mentality and what I try to instill in our guys here. I'm currently the special teams coordinator and defensive line coach at Bates. But our edge and what I preach to our guys all the time is that we're just going to care more about special teams. I think we've all seen where guys try really hard and work really hard their offensive and defensive positions, but maybe don't take, the fourth down as seriously. For me, the parallel that I always try to draw to them is, hey, if you're playing wide receiver and it's fourth down, you're going to make sure your gloves are extra tight, your stance is going to be great, you're going to have great attention to detail, you're going to give great effort, and you're going to have great energy. Well, why is that any different when you have a fourth down and you're punting, or it's punt return, or it's kickoff, or it's a field goal, any of that type of stuff? Because just like the fourth down offense and defense, you got to make the play right then. So the three things that we preach to our guys: maniacal effort, detail, and energy. And one thing that we do, the official signal for fourth down is holding up a fist, right? So we hold up a fist in the meeting room and we say, hey, what's our big three for the fourth down mentality? And I'll literally, if you can see me here, put my finger out. Our players will say maniacal effort, 2, detail, and then 3, energy. And they'll all say that back to me because I want them all to know what we're focusing on and what we care about and what will give us success in the kicking game. One big thing for me is I try to make special teams as fun as possible. Again, you'll have guys who, at least initially, won't necessarily want to be there. That's just the reality of it. When Cindy Lou in biology asked them what position they play, not many guys are going to say left guard on punt. They'll say linebacker, they'll say wide receiver. But we wanted to make it something where they are looking forward to meetings. They're looking forward to special teams periods. My big thing is be consistent but not stale. So find different ways to deliver the same message. As I think about it, our place is pretty unique where we have some kids who are the rich of the rich and the poor of the poor. I recruited 2 wide receivers last year. One was the son of a oil CEO, millions of dollars, maybe billions, never wanted for anything. The other one, never knew his father, was in jail his whole life, grew up in his grandmother's apartment, basically got the full boat from our college because he was so needy. So for me to be able to relate to those 2 different kids from those 2 different backgrounds, I'm going to have to do some different stuff to be able to get, my message across or our message across. Within that, as a coach, I'm always trying to reflect that fourth down mentality. So again, the maniacal effort, that energy, that detail that I'm expecting from our players, I got to give them when I'm coaching. And look, anybody who knows me knows I'm a little bit of a weird guy. So that's going to come through in my coaching. I've had an opportunity to work with a lot of great coaches who I've taken little things from, but at the end of the day, I got to do things like me because players will recognize fakes. I think there are a lot of different guys who can be really, really great coaches. Look at Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll, 2 super different guys, both, I think, definitely great coaches, but different personalities. They coach their personality. I certainly do the same thing. I think, any special teams coaches that probably are a little bit weird anyway. So I certainly put 2 arms around that and I embrace that. You can see in that picture on the right, that's a Final Jeopardy or a Jeopardy game that I played with some of our guys to talk about the rules of special teams. Like, that can very easily be a very dry, dull meeting where guys end up not paying much attention, and then that critical situation comes up where they got to know that rule and they don't remember it because they weren't paying attention during the meeting. To me, that's on you as a coach. So find a way to get them to lock in. So we called up 3 of our guys who had kind of interesting personalities, had them answer questions, and I think that led to a lot better retention for our players. Another way that I did it, we have 6 a.m. meetings here for special teams. We have one on Halloween this year, so I dressed up as the mascot for the meeting. Again, you can kind of see the guy in the back, like, look at me like, oh, what the fuck is going on here? It was just one more way that I could kind of wake them up and get them paying attention to what we had going on that day. The other thing is that I have incentives, and I actually have this right here with me now. When I first took over the kicking game here, I said the first guy who blocked a punt for me, or blocked a punt for us, I should say, will get his picture on my desk for the rest of my career. So there it is. It'll sit there, and no matter where else I end up coaching, I always have that going around with me because he was the first guy ever to do it. The other thing that we have is up in the room that we use for special teams meetings. We call it our block party, our punt return, is we have the block party wall of fame. So the 4 guys we blocked 4 punts last year. Actually, one guy got 3 of them, but he has his picture up 3 times. The other guy who blocked 1 had his picture up once. So they're always thinking about, and they have those incentives in place. I think another important thing within this is make sure you're quantitating it. So your players know what success looks like on special teams. Offense and defense, like, there are points, there's total yards. Like, it's very easy to just go down the box score and figure out, if you did a good job or not. Special teams is a lot harder, and I think the statistics that you get from the box score are a lot more deceiving or a lot more incomplete. So what we use is hidden yardage, and it'll make more sense when I go to the next slide on what that is. But we also track explosives and tackles, so guys can really understand, like, are we doing a good job or not on special teams? Here's our example here of hitting yardage. So what we use is, I looked up the average net punt in Division III football for a season. All right. It came out to a little over 31. So I rounded it to 30 and said, our goal anytime we punt is we want to net more than 30. So you can see there on Pride and Joy, that's what we call our punt team. And we'll get more into the goofy ass names I have for this other stuff in a second. All right. But it has a net. So we net 36. So that's a win on our hidden yardage, and it's a plus minus of 6. Add those all up, it was a plus of 20 on Pride and Joy this game. So that's a win, right? Flip it the opposite way. On our block party, we want to force our opponent to net less than 30. So either through a return or blocking a punt or forcing them into a shank is how we get to that. So you can see all those nets over there. So the 35 ended up being a -5 for us. That was a loss. The 3, obviously, a big win, 27. And then when we get more than 30 in any of these, we turn that an explosive play. So in this case, it was a punt block, but it could be a punt return. Those I put in green to make sure that they're highlighted. Conversely, if we have one that's a -30 or more, and that's any time that we should have gotten the ball, so like punt return should always end up with us having the ball. If we don't have the ball at the end of the play, then it's always an automatic -30. It's always an explosive against us. All right. Same with kickoff return. That being said, and then any other type of negative play where they net 60 yards on it for whatever reason. Usually that's because your punt returner doesn't catch it. So that's another explosive against us. Those will be highlighted in red. Any of those explosives for us are in green. Cabo, our kickoff, house call, our kickoff return. For those, it's the 25. Because for us, a touchback always comes out to the 25. So that's a really easy line of demarcation there. You can kind of see how that turned out for us in this particular game there. You add it up in the total kind of under that grid, 96. So this was a really good day for us. 2 explosives, 0 explosives against us. just so happened that I picked this one for the presentation. There were definitely some that didn't look as good that way last year. Then you see the tackles. We have our penalties, so we make sure we're tracking those and those get addressed. And then the positives and negatives for the game. So this is actually what goes up on our projector before the special teams meeting even starts. So that way our guys, as they're sitting down, can get the visual of kind of like the overview of what happened during the game. So again, they can at least get the what, and then they'll get the context of the why from me throughout the course of the meeting. But we can even get a little bit of the meeting done with, because they come out, they sit down, they come and see it. And it's really cool because of this consistency and, doing it this way. Guys will talk to me Sunday morning, and we meet on Sundays, but they'll talk to me Sunday morning even before we go into the special teams meeting and say, hey, how'd that plus minus look? How'd we do on hidden yardage? Which kind of tells me that it was getting through to a certain extent. Another thing we do, kind of taking this from hockey, I grew up in Buffalo, New York, big hockey place, is the 3 stars of the game. Like a lot of places, we have a special teams player of the game, but I also wanted to make sure that we recognize some of the guys who were doing like the small things well, because, the top guy there, he blocked a punt for us. That's something that we put a huge emphasis on. So he's going to win special teams player of the game unless somebody else did something incredibly well. But, the other guys here, had some tough returns. Johnny Lindgren here, tough returns, caught the ball safe field position with a really good play where he kind of faked out the whole punt team, that the punt was going one way, it bounced in the end zone, saved us a bunch of field position. Jose Calleja here for us, did a great job on 3 units, sprung a punt return, made an intelligent block. Like, those are guys I want to make sure that we recognize as well. And same as we had before, or that I talked about before with the Block Party Wall of Fame, when they come in that room, all 3 of those guys have pictures hanging up on the wall, so that they know they did well. It's go up there throughout the whole week. So, there's more positive reinforcement for them that way. And then we actually have standings as we go through the year that lists, every guy who won one of the stars throughout the year. So again, finding ways to incentivize this is something that, like, it's almost like should you really have to do it? I would argue that yes, you do, especially when you're talking about coaching in the kicking game. So some of again, I kind of alluded to it earlier, some of the goofy things that we do is, again, unit names. And that's also to just help, explain what we want, or the kind of tempo that we want for each unit. For punt, for us, it's pride and joy. Like, that's our baby. We have to care for that. We have to make sure that it's the most important thing to us in this kicking game. Okay, so that's our pride and joy. Punt return is block party. We're coming after blocks. We're going to be aggressive, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. CABO, that's a little bit of an acronym that I'm not necessarily going to go into the name of here, but you can kind of figure it out for yourself. But we want to be aggressive. We want to be fast. We want to be physical. And house call, we want to be playmakers. That's our kickoff return, is house call. And then we have the big 3, which informs our players how to play on each unit. So we'll get into those right now, but I should say in a second. But first, one of our 3 things that we do is rules of engagement. And this is something that I know I saw somewhere, and I can't remember where, but then I just recalled it before last season and started using it. And it's been a big part of what we do, and I think it works for offense and defense too. I fucking love this. So anytime we make physical contact with an opposing player, these are essentially the rules that we need to win that physical confrontation. Obviously, those happen all over the place on a football field. We say hairline to chin, all right? Which, rather than saying get low, like, I think this is more descriptive. It shows specifically where on the opposing human being's body that we need to be. So hairline to his chin, that's low enough to do what we have to do. Moving feet, we always want our feet moving. Again, it's a little bit different depending on what you're doing. If you're trying to beat a block on kickoff, if you're trying to make a block on kickoff return, if you're trying to make a block on punt return, anything, but all of them, your feet have to be moving. If your feet are stopped, you're fucked. And the other thing that we say is moving feet equals violence on contact. We want to run our feet through the other guy to create those violent collisions that we want to make on our punt team, or on our special teams, to be the better unit. And then tight hands. We want our hands tight in any of those physical confrontations. Again, even if you're running the ball. For good ball security, we want right here. knuckles to chin, elbow tight, right? And then and when in trouble, double. So same thing, we want our hands tight at all times, especially when, I shouldn't say at all times, but anytime that we make a contact with an opposing player. All right, and then for us, pride and joy, which is again punt. And you might have to tweak these depending on what your scheme is. For us, we're a little bit unique with our punt team. We motion, we shift every single punt. So the first thing for us is tempo. We're trying to create an up-tempo play on every single punt. The second thing is strike. So we want to strike the fucking guy across from us on our blocks. A big thing that you get into, and we're a two-man shield operation. So you'll see originally, or when you first try to install something like that, at least what I've found everywhere that I've done, and I've done it a few different times, is guys are really passive on that front line. Want to drop and do stuff like that. No, we're going to get motherfuckers. We're attacking them. All right? And then leverage in our coverage. So, and we'll break all our drills down this way too. They'll know, hey, we're working tempo this drill. We're working strike this drill. We're working leverage this drill. So the first one, this is our tempo. So one thing that I'm big on is, like, when you put together a scout punt return team, and it's been the same way everywhere that I've been, right? I was at Syracuse. Our head coach is in the NFL now, Doug Marone. Even there, like, putting together a scout special teams team is a shit show, right? So we always have a drill that we're able to do to get some type of productivity while we're waiting for the scout team. So what we do is we do our shift of the week, and we'll do something a little bit different on our punt team. So that's just our shift. We'll make sure that we drill it. We drill how we're going to block it on air, and then we get off and give a 5-yard cover, right? Then you can see us just against a scout team. Again, we work that tempo, and then we go. And then here's how it looks in the game. So again, being able to work with tempo, make sure we're fast. And we want to make that other team have to adjust to us, be worried about a fake so they can't rush as hard, and then be able to make a play on that punt team. Unfortunately, we didn't punt that ball very well there. Okay, so when we break it down for our strike drills now, it's a little bit different for everybody else. This is kind of how we break up the field here. The front line, and then our Viper, he's the adjuster. He's the guy you saw go in motion. Will be at one part of the field. Snappers, punters, and returners will be on the other side of the field. And then our gunners will do their own thing as well. That way we're able to do position-specific things within that punt unit. Okay, so this is what we use for our front line and our Vipers here. You can kind of see some of our gunner drills going on in the background here. But this is what we want with the strike. Again, very aggressive. The thing that I tell these guys, and I love using defensive line guys for the front line. Most people will say so you can cover and tackle, which is all good and very true as well. But also because this is really, it's less of a block. It's more of a block destruction. Again, we're attacking a guy, two-hand punching, extending our arms, and then we're tearing off to get off a punt, okay? So 37 right here is the best footwork in this. Best footwork. What we say is we want to split the crotch with the first step. Second step should return us to our stance. Third step should strike. 19, his feet get a little bit too close on his second step. 19 right up here, his feet get a little too close on his second step for my liking. Don't love the footwork, but love the strike, right? Get it extended, and then we want to tear it off. You can see 19's really good with his violence here on the tear. You know, my coaching point for them is we're doing this drill, and one thing that I think is really critical, I kind of skipped it there, is as they're holding those bags, hold it underneath like you see all our guys doing here. That way, it's more of a realistic punch. Like, I hate when the fucking guys hold those little straps in there and then turn it out and then it's going all over the place. Very unrealistic. It's up against the body now. Now it feels more like you're actually striking a human being. And then the other part of it is you can tear it off and you can see how much violence they actually have on that tear. So see right here, boom. And I want to be able to see, I tell them, I want to be able to hear that thing hit the ground. And I want to be able to see those little pellets come out of the turf as it hits. And then give a quick 5-yard release to simulate getting out into your coverage. Here's just another look at it here. Same drill, right? Same drill, boom. All right, so here's an example of us doing it. Oh, where'd we go? Sorry about that. Okay, so here's an example of us doing it. Again, you can see at tempo with that shift there. But we're looking specifically at our two guards, 55 and 24 here. You can see good steps, bang, strike. Again, same coaching points. We want hairline to chin. We want moving feet. We want tight hands. Boom, coming right through there. And then tear them down. Get off that block and get into coverage. This is even better right here. Again, you can see the tempo with the shift. Love that. Snap it before they can get back set, which is exactly what we're looking for. You know, anytime we can get a gunner uncovered and get one guy running around having no clue where the fuck to line up, you know, I feel like we did a pretty good job scheming that up. But again, looking at the two guards here, these are our best two on this one. Love 24 going attacking it. Step in to split the crotch, bang. Hairline to chin, moving feet, tight hands, love that. Same with 37 on the right side of our screen at guard there. Really good. Throw them down and get out. And sorry, any questions about any of that stuff that I've gone through so far? I feel like I'm going through pretty fast. If anybody has any questions.
No question, but maybe we can talk about this scheme a little bit later. I'm interested in your opinion between the two-man shield punt and three-man shield punt. Maybe you can discuss it a little bit later, or whenever you want.
I can just say it really quickly right now. You know, the reason why I like the two-man shield is it gives you a little bit more versatility, and I'd run the three-man shield probably for 4 or 5 years. But it's good, it's sound, you know, but it's very simple. It's very easy to attack. I feel like, you know, certainly from when it first came out, I think people have really learned how to attack it better. This gives you a lot more versatility. It allows you to move guys around. It makes it much easier for the rugby stuff, which we're big into. To be honest with you, our punters weren't very good last year. We're working on developing them right now. Actually, the guy who was supposed to be our main punter got hurt during the preseason. So and we had to use, you know, safeties and running backs and stuff. We used 3 different punters throughout the course of the year. So we weren't very good at that position. So, you know, that helped us mask some of our deficiencies there as well. But to the biggest reasons, but we would still go on two-man shield regardless of who we had as punter. The biggest reasons is because we can be more adjustable. We can give the opponent more looks, and we can get much better coverage while still staying sound in our protections. So that's just the Cliff Notes version of what we have there. It's scheme-wise, in terms of what you block it, very similar to your typical three-man shield.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. But you don't need a rugby style punt to run a two-man shield, right? You do not.
You do not. And you'll see a couple clips of us doing it here. As a matter of fact, this is how we drill the shield right now on that. It just got to the point, like I said, it was just more in our punter's wheelhouse. We were 64% rugby this year, but we still punted from the cup. And again, there are a couple of clips later on in this presentation of us doing that. So you can see it here. This is how we drill our shield. And again, the strike portion of this for our shield. The one thing, you know, this wasn't great. This was the first day of us doing it. He needs to keep his foot anchored. He'll move to get to him. And actually, a coaching point that we haven't used, but I heard this offseason that I really like that I'm going to get to, is the guy who moves to touch the other guy's thigh. That's how he knows he's there, and that's how he knows he's close enough. But, you know, way that we rep it, because, you know, I don't want to have them back there and get a big injury risk and stuff like that, have big collisions, human on human, but be able to give them the timing and also give them the confidence to be able to strike that thing hard as we throw a medicine ball, just like you see here. So again, gives them the timing of that, and then bang, they can hit it together. The big coaching points for those guys is we don't shoot until we can see the whites of their eyes. Be patient, be patient, be patient, be patient. And actually the picture that I put up is, you know, of the movie 300 where they're behind the shields and they're in formation and they have their spears out. Like that should be as the shield, that should be our mentality. We're attacking, we're aggressive, but we're calculating how we do that, and we're patient until we get the chance to be aggressive, and then we're striking. Our rule is if we don't have a guy coming through our A gap, Then we scan out. Do I have somebody in the chat here with a question?
Yeah, coach asked where is the shield in relation to the kick spot?
Yep. So the shield is at 7. The punter, their toes are at 7. The punter is at 15. So the punter's bad here. This is on him. So this was really just to show the strike of the shield. But he should be at 15, and then he should be working to the crease. So that way we're away from anything out here, and we're in the middle of our 2 shield guys. He's bad here. This is not what we want out of our punter on this one. So we'll see if he does a little bit better here. Again, this was me training guys who have never been punters before, or at least not since high school, how to be punters. So right here, if we don't have a guy coming through the middle, so the way we set the drill up is we have one guy in the middle with the medicine balls. We have some guys outside. You'll see our head coach was coaching our shield. You can see he's pointing at the 2 guys outside. So now nobody comes up the middle. We're patient, we're patient, we're patient. Boom. Don't strike until you see the whites of their eyes, and then hit. I'm sorry, did I answer your question? I hope I didn't go too fast to that. Make sense? Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
And by the way, guys, you can unmute and interrupt me. I don't care. You're good if you want to do that. Okay, perfect. So anyhow, now this is for our rugby. Now this is for our rugby. So this is our shields have to count now. So if we get 2 off the edge, both shields work to the edge. Make sure we protect the block point. If we don't have 2 off the edge, and then this is what this guy is doing, the second shield will scan back. All right, the right shield will always come and seal the edge here, even if there's no immediate threat coming off there. But anybody who's sound in their punt return game will have a guy out there to pull the punter up for rugby, especially a team that rugbyed as much as we did last year. So here's the idea of the protection from the cup. Doing something a little different there from a schematic standpoint. The one thing that I don't like is 71 is like dropping his foot away like that. We want to be firm foot, firm shoulder, both in the middle here. But what we did do is we knocked it down. We kept the punter clean despite a heavy rush. And the good thing was, because we were so different formationally, we didn't have many clips where people were really able to come after us. This is another one. Now this is from a rugby standpoint. See the right shield come to the edge, right? Left shield, he'll have nothing coming off, so he'll scan back. Our right tackle is horrendous here, but luckily our left shield does a really good job, is able to pick that guy up. But that's a look at how we want our shield to be able to strike here. Boom. All right, so now from a leverage standpoint, right? Big 3, tempo, strike, and now leverage. So we're talking about leverage on the ball in coverage, okay? So this is how we cover it down. We want both gunners. They are taking a shot across the face of the returner. Those guys should be the first guys down regardless, okay? We want to take a shot across his face. We should put the ball on the ground. If we don't, we need to make that thing change direction, okay? Both guards are going to be 5 by 5. Keep the ball inside and in front on my inside shoulder. Tackles, 10 by 10. Again, keeping the ball on our inside shoulder. Viper is to the ball. Snapper is to the ball. All right? Both our shields are working to bottom of the number. They're ultimate contained. Okay? You never want to be in a situation where that fucking guy has to make a tackle. But if you do get in that situation, he needs to force it back inside to all of your pursuit coming, and your punter will essentially form a triangle over the ball. So worst case, he forces it back to the punter, but we should have a bunch of pursuit coming back. But really, it should never come to that. We need to have guys who make plays down the field. Anybody any questions about the coverage responsibilities, anything like that? Good. Okay. So
no questions in the chat, Coach.
Sorry, go ahead.
No questions in the chat at the moment.
Great. So right here, this is how we set up the drill, and I think it'll be easier if you actually see this in action. So they go through their normal cadence. So we get another rep at the tempo of it here. Okay, snap the ball. Now the only guys that cover, they step to their coverage responsibilities. Now our to the ball guys. So both our gunners, our snapper, and our viper get to the ball. Okay, run past, do their coverage responsibilities, really good by that. Then we blow a whistle. Everybody else sprints out. When we first do this, we have cones on the field to give them an idea of where they want to be on the field. So you can see shields, punter, all those guys. Now they sprint out to where they got to go. I shorten it up a little bit from where their normal coverage responsibilities will be, but I still want to give them a feel of, excuse me, where they're going. Okay? So you'll kind of see the difference between our defensive guys are in the garnet right here, right? The offensive guys are in white. You can kind of see the difference of how they're approaching this. We want to be near foot to the ball and square, more square than 5 is here. And then tag off with that guy in our responsibility. When we first do it, we're just having that guy run straight and then squeezing, linearly to the ball, I guess you could say. All right, now as we go, we'll switch around, how they're lined up and where the ball's going on our rugby kicks. We're always kicking to the opposite hash. So the ball's out there now. You see the coverage. You see everybody running down, getting to their cones. Now you can see 5 has been coached up on it. He's more square. And then they're square to the ball, And we're tagging off on the hip. We always want to be pinkies together so we have those nice tight hands as we make that tackle is what we're trying to simulate there. All right, and one more look at it. And then as we progress, so, the first one was day 1. This is probably the second or third day of us doing it. Now we'll have that guy really give a look of, trying to make guys miss and things like that. So again, we can really get a better realistic look of how guys are leveraging this football, doing a good job. The shield, don't love right there, right? We shouldn't be head up, keep him on your inside shoulder. He kind of slides off late because he knows I'm about to yell at him. Anyhow, we'll get a better look here from the tight. So again, this is a look at us punting from the cup here on this one. So we'll see us spread our net, leverage the ball. Okay, gunners want to cross the face. So really he could be even more up here. 14 is one of our gunners. He's fighting back to get in position. 38 is another one of our gunners. He crosses the face, boom, make a change direction. Now, don't love how we're stacked here, but you see 30 does a good job, and we never want to follow color. That's another important rule of ours. All right, but 30 feels that he's been covered up, falls back outside. 5 is our left guard right here, does a good job falling in, keeps him on his leverage, and if he misses it, 30's right there to clean it up. It's a good look at how our coverage should look like. You see the shields getting out to their spots. That's really good. All right, here's another one. Now we rugby it. You can see 14 doesn't make the tackle, but there's such a thing as productive misses, we call them. Look, if you miss a tackle on your leverage and you force it back to help, you make the guy stop his feet, you make him change the direction, that's a win for us. That's a productive miss. We're okay with that because, again, now he has to change direction. Here's our right tackle coming back to leverage the ball back. Okay, it gets back around. Now there's our left tackle coming over. Again, with that 10-by-10 relationship, he's on his inside shoulder, goes and makes it. Everybody else comes on to fall on the ball. So a couple of good examples of our leverage in our coverage. Okay, so now we'll talk about our block party. So this is our punt return. So again into the drill work and talking about some of our fundamentals of how we do things. Our big 3 for our block party is align, get off, and finish. So make sure that we're aligning to all the different funky pump formations because we're not the only team in our league that'll line up a little bit goofy in their punt. So we got to make sure we have great attention to detail in how we're aligning in our formations. Our get off, we got to get off the ball. Whether we're in hold up or we're trying to block the punt, we have to have a great get off to be able to have success no matter what we're doing and finish. You know, the unique thing about the punt return unit is that the way you execute, you know, whether you're blocking the punt or you're blocking a man, on the finish of it is different than really anything else you're going to do in football. In particular, like, you're never going to tell a guy to have his hands like this at any other point in football except when you're trying to block a punt. So great attention to detail on that finish so we can really have success on this is a critical part, of winning this play. So when you talk about from an aligned standpoint, you know, the first thing I do, and you know, obviously we do it on the field with the scout teams, but the first thing I do in the meetings is I put up all their punt looks, and I show them exactly how this team is going to line up. You can see 74% of the time, you know, this opponent that we had was a 3-man shield. And then you just show up alignments by that, and then show a detailed diagram of exactly how we're going to line up versus that with all our different personnel and things like that. So you make sure that they get the visual. I'll actually take this out onto the field with me. So as we're lining up for the scout team, I show them one more time out on the practice field. And then, you know, I actually have a binder with me on game days as a little bit of an aside. I have a binder with all our calls versus all their looks on the sideline with me on game days too. So that if we have an injury or something like that, or a guy just needs a refresher on the sideline, I can show them really quick. Because again, an alignment and the details with that alignment are so important and critical to our success. Obviously on punt return, but really, you know, for all of our units on the special teams. So the next part of it, and I don't know why these slides got already here, but in terms of our drill circuit, so this is our circuit that we use for punt return. You know, for punt, the jobs are a little bit different, or are very different by position. On punt return, they really aren't that different, except when you're talking about the returner and sometimes the jammer, depending on your opponent's scheme. But we have everybody but the returner go through this whole circuit. All right, the ball off the foot and the ride by scrape paint, those are our finish drills. Balls off the foot for blocking the punt, ride by scrape paint for you know, making a block on a guy down the field to spring our returner. The get off and the mug are for, obviously for get off, the get off part of it, and the mug as well. That's blocking the man on the line of scrimmage. So we'll see some of these drills here. We'll start with the get off one. So this is our mug drill right here. We're always an outside foot up team. I think this helps us a lot. So we're working just getting off the ball, punching the guy, and then once he realizes it's hold up, being able to get back in that near hit and force him wide. We always want to force that man wide as he comes back through it. Here's another look here. That's idea. But again, like the big thing that I tell them is we want to knock those guys back, hairline to chin, tight hands, moving feet. So this guy at the bottom, you know, not where we want to be in terms of body position. This guy much better. Okay, hairline to chin, moving feet, tight hands, knock that guy back, and then get in phase as he transitions out. So we'll see some good examples of it here. 33 is really, really good here. 5 is really, really good. They get off and they attack. Look at how he knocks him back, right? Time equals yards, period. What I don't love as much, you can kind of see the bad look at it, watch 85. Like he just splits his feet, doesn't really do anything. This guy can get right out. We want to knock that guy back. We want to make him think we're rushing the punt, and then we want to drive him. So you can see the difference when this guy finally gets off here, you know, is about 20 yards, right? Just because he attacked and he drove his feet back a little bit. Here's another look right here. And we tell him, like on this one here, if your man blocks someone else, kick his ass, ear hole him, knock him back, drive him. Like that's really good by 5 right there. Not so good by 98. I'm not sure he knows who he's supposed to be blocking. 8's pretty good right here. Gets off the ball, the guy blocks him, get him blocked up. Now, unfortunately, our other side, you know, you see the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, you know, I don't know what that is. You know, I don't know what that is by 9. Just letting the guy run. Unfortunately, those are the guys that end up getting our punt return space. Got to be better at that. All right. One thing that we were pretty good at was this get off drill. Now, you see we have one guy snapping the ball here. And then this is actually me right here. Okay. it wasn't in the slide, but the big three that we really talk about for blocking a punt is accelerate. So accelerate through the block point, low hands, big eyes. So I get right, you can't see it, but there's a cone right here that simulates the block point. I really want to see that guy bugging his eyes, and I want to see those hands nice and low as he comes through. So I'm really able to get that view as it comes down. You can see like this guy's hands are way too high, and we want to shoot those high hands late too. You can't accelerate running like this. You got to pump your arms so you can really run and go for it. So you'll actually see me as we go through here. You know, I leave and then I go coach this guy up. You know, we have two coaches here, so we have another guy who can snap the ball, so we can still get reps, you know, while we're waiting to go through this. You know, I talked about when we were talking about punt, this is the drill that we'll do too while we're waiting for our punt team to get set up. You know, we just rip through this. Each guy gets one rep. You can see snapping the ball. We got the kick guy right there. I'll actually do it where we simulate what the block point is as we go through the week, and then they'll sprint off the ball and go get it. The big thing we talk about from a stance standpoint, and you'll see 5 here is pretty good. Sorry. Let me back up. So this here now is how we simulate a 3-man shield. We have these 3 pop-ups here, and now we rush and we want to be tight to that shield. Tight to that shield. We say trim fat off the shield as much as possible. For the guys in the middle, we're puncturing through it. I really don't like how he swims his hands through. We just want to get skinny and then boom, get it to the block point. Again, accelerate, big eyes, low hands. What I really like here with this guy though is look at his stance. When we talk about stance, we want chest over knee, knee over toe, all our weight or as much weight as we can get on this front foot, and then off the ball we want to drive that leg through with violent arm action. Really love that. Really love that right there by him. Don't love the false step here, but a decent get off. Okay, and then you'll see there.
Coach?
Much better there. Do you have a question?
Yeah. Do you always teach the blockers to cross the punter's face?
So to be honest with you, that's something that I've been looking at more this year in terms of exiting to the foot side. I didn't coach that up a ton, just to be honest with you. I didn't really tell him either way. I just told him to get to the foot.
Yeah.
You know, my thought process was I don't want to kill their aggressiveness in it by making them think too much at the point of the block. We've blocked 5 and we've gotten 2 roughing the punters so far in my 2 years as a special teams coordinator. So I feel like it hasn't been a huge problem. At the same time, like, could we be better with it? We might be. I'm continuing to kind of evaluate that. But to answer your question, no, I hadn't really talked to him about it either way, to be honest with you.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
No doubt. So here we'll see in kind of an example of what you were talking about, Dave, here. You know, so right here, first of all, from a stance standpoint, love how loaded he is, right? Chest over knee, knee over toe. Great first step off the ball here. Able to beat that guy, trim fat off the shield, and boom. Goes and gets it. In this case, he's across the face. Like I said, maybe he makes that block even better. He kills it in the end zone and we score a touchdown if he exits to the foot side. But, you know, he made such a good aggressive play here. Like, I'd hate to take that out of his hands, you know, because I'm over coaching it. So that's kind of the debate that I'm having for myself right now. But a cool story about this here. And again, like I was talking about, you see all those coaching points that we had there earlier in terms of driving up through, coming down, bang, hitting it. As we went onto the field, you know, I called them up, I gave them the call, all that good stuff. And he tells the guys in the huddle, like, all right, fellas, you want to see how to block a punt? Let me show you how it's done. And I kind of like roll my eyes like, all right, bro. He comes out, does it, and then he points right over to me on the sideline right after he got it there. So that was a pretty neat moment right there, and a hell of a play by that kid. Anyway, I apologize for this video quality here. This is our DB coach. Right now, he looks like the shortest O-line coach in America. Way too fat. This is just bad film quality, but you can kind of see what we're getting done here. So again, this is for that finish, that block point. Transitioning now to our finish drills from our get-off drills. So we're just looking, again, working those big eyes and those low hands. We're running our hands just like we would be running at the block point, and we're working having big eyes on that foot and then extending those hands flat and getting the ball off the foot. So the way it is it's 1, 2, right to the foot, and on the third one, he drops the ball, and there we go. We deflect it, bang. Work on getting the ball off the foot. So here's a great example of that. We're watching 37 here, and again, great get off on this one too. But he ends up beating the snapper, puts his eyes, and you can see the helmet. I'm assuming the eyes are there. And the hand is right down on the foot, able to get that block. Again, accelerate, big eyes, low hands. All right, now the finish from the blocking standpoint, we teach 2 different ones. So this is when we're in phase. Basically, we're 1 by 1 with the guy that we're blocking, or we can reach out and touch him. What we say is control his hip, control his life. Near hand to the hip, far hand to the near shoulder, and then we steer him by. We're not trying to have a big, huge block here. We just want to occupy the guy enough to get him by the returner. So you can see the setup of the drill. We have 2 cones here to show them what their spacing is. I serve as the returner. So the guy who's the scout, which are the guys on the outside, work to me, and the guy who is blocking is obviously shadowing them and then blocking once we get close to the return. You can see this here once again as well. Okay, one more time. All right, here it is in game action now. So we can watch it. I think we'll see it better from the tight here if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So we're watching this guy right here on the screen. You can see he actually gets all turned around. He's trying to make the block too early. We talk about throwing the block late when we get tight to returner. So we don't want to have to hold that block forever, right? Let's throw it late just like this, and you can see near hand, near hip, far hand, near shoulder, boom, just drive him by. Really good look at that block right there to spring us for a nice little return. This one now, we talk about scrape paint. Okay, so, ooh, slides are getting all messed up. Here we go. Where'd that side go? Oh, no, we're good. Okay. So this one we talk about scrape paint now. So now we're out of phase. We can't reach out and touch the guy. So we got to just run by him when we're tight to the returner and be able to get him just enough time to run up the field. This is one that I'm going to change too after off-season study. We haven't had a chance to do it yet. But instead of throwing, I taught him an uppercut before. Instead, we're going to airplane. We're going to shoot both arms out wide so we can occupy even more space and slow down. So we're going to airplane coming by this guy, but this is the way that we've taught it. But the big coaching point for this, and what I tell the punt return guys, the big advantage that they do have is they know where this guy's working to. So if you've lost your guy or you're further away from your guy, peek the returner so that way you can get on an angle to cut him off and get through him. Here it is again. I'm looking like an idiot with my damn hood up, screaming. Anyhow. And part of the reason why I've changed this, I haven't had great drill film of this. So, you know, they always say if it doesn't show up on the film, you know, find a different way to teach it. But you can see some of them here, right? 14, getting in the way. All right, making that block. 5 coming back. He's kind of trying to just take the guy out. But we need to get better at that. But that's the way that I've taught it in the past and the way that I'm looking to change it going forward. So a few of the last things here as we kind of run up against the hour. Any other questions from anybody before we go any further? No? Okay, great.
No, coach, we are good.
Perfect. So just some combo drills that we've come up with. And I think it's really critical, like no special teams coordinator in America feels like he has the time that he wants. But finding a way to be more efficient with your time has been something that's been huge for me. Tackle Tuesday, you know, I actually have a different presentation on kickoff where I talk more about this, but every Tuesday, you know, our head coach gives us 5 minutes of special teams work, just do whatever drill that I want. And more often than not, probably 7 out of the 9 weeks that we had of our regular season, I did some sort of tackling. I think defensive guys can never get enough of it, and especially because we employ a good number of offensive guys on our special teams, we need to be able to work some tackling to get them better than that. But, and the other thing too for me is that makes 2 of your units better. That makes punt better, that makes kickoff better. So why not work some of that tackling into it? And it's an opportunity for your kickers to be able to tackle, which, you know, heaven forbid they have to do it, but you might have to put them in, they might be put in that situation where they have to do it. So, you know, at least giving them the tools to be successful in that, I think is really important. We'll do cover drills, which you'll see in a second, and compete drills, which you'll see as well. So this is one that we kind of developed as we went through the year, and I really liked it because it helps out all of your core four, your punt return, your kickoff return. So the way this drill is set up right here is the inside guys, okay, are our punt return guys. The outside guys are our punt guys, or they're really our blockers. Again, this could be kickoff return as well. This could be kickoff versus kickoff return. So the outside guys, what they want to do is put the guy on your back or stack him. We want to give him nothing but your back to block. So if he blocks you, you know, he's giving you a block in the back. So it's working that for them. For our punt return guys, and kind of the big impetus for me on this is we had 3 block in the back calls in the first 2 weeks, which was fucking unacceptable. So I had to find a way to fix it. And at the end of the day, it was bad coaching by me because, you know, what you see on film is either coach or allowed, right? So I allowed it. So we came up with this drill to kind of teach us the reaction to not block in the back. Now, we didn't get a ton of great clips of this, but we didn't get any more block in the backs our last 7 games of the year. So, you know, I think we'll get to the point where we can actually peel back. But anyhow, to get this thing back on track here, for the coverage unit guys, they want to stack and then get to the returner who's right here. To work our tackling, we always talk about near foot tackling, control our body. So we're controlling our body and, again, getting some good tackling work, getting some work on leveraging a ball carrier. Even though they aren't physically tackling, we're getting them into the body position that we want to be able to do it. And then for our return guys, they get the guys back. We got to learn to be able to turn and retrace and get the most next dangerous. So they see the back, retrace, get the next dangerous, and that's literally the next guy in line. They just go up and shadow block them, and then we move on to the next. And this is one that we can get 1,000,000 reps at. And again, it showed up for us. We were better tacklers after this. We were able to put guys on our back. And again, even though we didn't necessarily peel back and get these blocks exactly how we wanted, we didn't have any more blocks in the back, which I think is definitely a big victory for us. Now, the next way we run this drill here is if this guy's on top of us, the guy who's going to block us is on top of us, now we throw by, boom. And this guy's really, really good at it right here. Put your hand on his back plate and punch him and then throw him by, bang. Get back and then be able to leverage that ball carrier. Now, if we get thrown by, and again, on punt return, we want to be arm length distance in the back hip. But if it so happens that he ends up putting on the brakes and is able to throw us by, now we just block him back on our new leverage. So you should block him outside to give your returner a chance to break it outside. So this is working on the throw by, getting back, leveraging the ball carrier, and then being able to get back and reestablish leverage and be able to block that guy as the punt return guy. So again, being able to work essentially 4 units with one drill, and it was something that I think really, really paid off well for us. And finally, compete drill. So there are all different sorts of compete drills, and we've done a few other ones, but I think this is our best one. And the thing I'll say about it is it does really take some organization to be able to get it done right. And you can kind of see the setup here. So for us, we use the gunner and the viper and stuff like that. So on the left side of the hashes, in the middle, as anybody who's not going, on the left side, you have your snapper here, right? Guard, tackle, and then either a gunner or a viper. Right side of the hash, snapper, guard, tackle, viper. You line up guys against them, and we'll be able to see the visual here. You have one coach who's throwing the ball to the returner. You have a shield, give a cadence. All right, and you go through the whole deal. So the basic premise of this is I'll stand in the back, and I'll point out one of these two guys to rush. The one who I don't point out is going to hold up. Okay, we snap it. One guy rushes. Both front line guys got to block it like normal. The gunner versus the jammer, they get to just get off here. So again, and this is, you know, the first time we did it during camp, so it was a little bit sloppy. We'd only done drill work up to this point. But, you know, I'll tell you, I think the best learning and the best meeting that we have in terms of, you know, what we're trying to accomplish and stuff like that is the meeting after we go through this and we're able to watch the film with the guys and say, hey, like, this is how this drill is supposed to translate to what we're doing. And end of the day, you know, I would rather get all this sloppiness out of the system than have it on the first Saturday of our season when we're going against an opponent. We want to make sure they're put in competitive situations on punt and punt return as well as kickoff return. We have other ones for this. So that way the first time that they're competing on special teams isn't against a guy in another color jersey, because I'll tell you, I've been in that situation before, and it's scary as hell. The other thing is, you know, it gives us an opportunity to evaluate these guys. All of the guys on our team, or at least all the guys who run the drills, obviously, you know, quarterbacks in some situations are different, offensive linemen in some situations are different. You know, you see our fucking quarterbacks hanging out back here during this. But, you know, this allows you to really see, you know, if guys can do it. You know, I think we've all seen guys who we thought would be able to do it, couldn't. And guys that we really didn't think were physically capable, you know, were able to show out on special teams because they just had that little screw loose or whatever else. So this is huge for us from that standpoint. That's what it looks like with the gunner. This here's what it looks like with the viper coming out. We clap, and then we go. And again, you can see the coach. We shorten up the run just a little bit, and the returner's got to keep it between the hash and the sidelines here. And again, you don't want to see that, certainly. You know, the throw and the torque and all that stuff. And then, you know, you can see we're trying to do, you know, some of this stuff the way that we teach it. You know, he's trying to stack them right here. He's trying to get that last second block, and that's actually a pretty good job, although a little bit of a block in the back, right? Want that hand on the hip, so there's no question about it there. But again, what this does is it shows us a lot of our issues, and we're able to correct them. So I think this is a really, really good drill for us, particularly during camp if you have spring ball, during spring ball as well. So anyhow, that's my presentation. Does anybody have any questions for me now?
Yes, coach. Maybe
Yeah, go ahead.
maybe on your punt rush, we see most of the time a three-man shield, and just from a schematic standpoint, how would you attack a three-man shield in your block party?
So the biggest thing we look at is, do they have a weak link somewhere? In particular, in the shield, who we can go after and we can attack. Like for example, you know, the biggest thing that we do, and maybe it's a little bit less schematic and more based on personnel, really, is like against this team, I knew that this guy was gonna set deep and wasn't a very good blocker, so I put our best block guy against him. You know, I knew he was going to have a good get up. I knew he was going to have a shot to beat that guy off the screen. If there's a shield that's weak, I figure out where that shield's going to go. And what we try to do is forehand him. So we try to get two guys on him, put four hands through him. So both guys try to knock that guy back and then get a hand on the ball as they come back through it. The other thing that we'll look at big time schematically is where the backside of their shield is too. Like I said, I just felt like this guy was a squid and we can beat him. I knew he was going to block this guy. So that was where we focused. But the other part here from this week in particular was, and we didn't do a good job of it, is to the backside of their shield. So try to line up as tight as you can. And again, this was a concept that I got to get coached better, but line up as tight as you can to this guy. So when he leaves, you're running through right here, right? When he leaves, you're running through the man. When he leaves, you're running through the man and staying tight as possible through that, especially if they compress way down, you can get some short edges on that. So those are my biggest thoughts in terms of blocking a three-man shield.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that sounds good, Coach. And how many guys do you rush when you see that picture you're showing us here?
8 on this one.
Mm-hmm.
We'll cover down both ends, and then other than that, we're sending double A's, B, C, right there. Actually, where is it? Okay, this is the picture of our base block versus three-man.
Okay, I got you. That's great. And where do you set the block point for your punt block team?
Depends on the week. That's something that I'll look at during scouting. As a base, 11 yards, but that can change based on who the team is. So that's actually always a part of my scouting report is where the typical block point will be for that punter for that week.
Mm-hmm. Okay, 11 yards, and then you look for the steps the punter will take, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. I got that. Yeah, that's great. I think maybe that's a good option to put in to the special team to have such a block party. Yeah, I really like that aggressive idea.
No doubt, and I think in particular, again, being Division III football here, the big thing in my brain is you have worse punters, you have returners who don't have as good a range, so it's harder to get a return off. Just because the punts are shorter, they're on the ground, there's not as much hang time, like you can't really get returns set up as well as you would like to, or as well as you can at higher levels.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side of that, the snappers aren't as good. The punters a lot of times aren't as polished. The protections are sometimes simpler. So it's easier in a lot of ways to be able to scheme a block or get a block because the other team messes something up. So we're very much a block-oriented operation, for all those reasons. And also with that, I think you can force punters into bad punts when you get guys around them. We've had a lot of shanks against us, and I think it's just because punters are freaked out because they think that because they know that we're going to come after the block on them. So they try to hurry their operation, or they try to do something and get a little bit out of pocket, and their drops get bad, and they're bad with their details, and then we end up getting 10-yard punts against us because guys are just rushed and hurried through their steps. Whereas if they knew that we were setting up for a return, they might be able to hit a better punt and hurt us that way. So, that's my thought process through it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense, Coach. Thank you very much. I think
Great.
the
Sorry, go ahead.
box is empty at the moment.
Say it again?
The chat box is empty at the moment, so I don't know if we have any other questions. But if not, I really like to thank you for taking the time to help us get better, especially at the special team side of the ball. That's always a problem. That's the first section where some time is restricted and cut it down. And I think that we can win a lot of games with these special teams. And over the last years we put a lot of time into it, and I think that's worth it. And you helped us to get better on that side of the ball.
No question. I'm happy to do it. And you can see on this side here, there's all my contact info. Some of it on the chat as well. talk_teams is the Twitter account that I run that, we put out weekly clinics as well. We have a YouTube page that has a ton of clinics. Dave's been in all of them. He's a rider for Teams Talk. So, definitely check those out. And the other thing is, like I said at the top, doing a certification program. It's a holistic approach to special teams. Jeff Reinbold is the guy who's partnered with me on that. He is a million times a better coach than I am too. So, if I didn't impress you very much with this clinic presentation, trust me, he's doing a lot of it. So he can get you a lot better, but we're really excited about that. It includes 2 hours worth of consultation. It includes all of our drill tapes, his and mine. It is, we've taped, I think, 4 hours worth of lessons. There's, tests to go with it as well. So, you'll get a full schematic and fundamental and organizational and analytic look at how to run your special teams going through that. So I certainly encourage you, if that's something you're interested in, go to teamstalkcert.com.
Yeah, coach, that sounds great. And especially your YouTube channel. I watched the clinic you had over the two-man shield punt. That was a great one, and I learned a lot. So thank you for all the content you presenting, and thank you for today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for having all these clinics too, man. It's been awesome.
Yeah, we all try to get better and improve the sport, and you did your part. So thank you very much, and I wish you a nice day, and let's keep in contact. Goodbye, coach.
Yes, sir. Best of luck this season.
Thank you.